Welcome to the Heartful Healing Hub podcast, a soul nourishing space where stories become medicine and healing is woven through sound, energy, and remembrance. Here we explore gentle conversations, sound, and reflections that support emotional balance, nervous system calm, and a return to your own inner wisdom. I'm so glad you're here. Take a breath, settle in, and allow yourself to arrive. In this week's episode, we will explore a question that might feel a little tender, a little revealing, and maybe even a little uncomfortable, but in the gentlest and most supportive way. Are you healing or hustling in disguise? Welcome back. I'm your host, Deanne, frequency intuitive, energetic healing guide, and fellow traveler on the path of embodied wellness. This question, although maybe not always verbally expressed, is something that's been coming up in my community, in conversations with women over the years, and honestly, in my own journey too. Because healing, real healing, is so different from what we've been taught it is. And if we're not careful, healing can quietly become another version of striving, another thing to manage, another place to perform. And today, we are going to unravel that together. Let's start with something simple. Most women do not realize when they're hustling in their healing because it doesn't look like hustling. It may look like this: constantly reading another book, trying the next meditation method, adding more rituals, listening to 5 different teachers, trying to fix the next layer, feeling like we're never doing enough, measuring our progress, or secretly wondering why we're still tired, still overwhelmed, or still emotional. It feels productive, it feels responsible, it even feels noble because we're quote unquote working on ourselves. But healing is not meant to feel like work. And yet, so many women have learned that healing is something they have to accomplish, something to achieve, something to get right. And in that pressure, the nervous system stays activated, it stays alert, it stays in expectation mode, even when the practices themselves are supposed to be calming. Let's explore what healing actually is and isn't. Healing is not a performance. It is not something your mind does. It is not something you force. And it certainly is not something you control into submission. Healing is what happens when the nervous system feels safe enough to soften. That's it. Not when you perfect your morning routine, not when you meditate for 22 minutes, not when you listen to the right frequency or use the right herb or write the perfect journal entry. Those things can support healing, but they are not healing by themselves. Healing is not something you do, it is something you allow. And most of the time, the body knows exactly what to do when we stop pushing it. All right, what are the sneaky signs of the healing hustle? Let's get real for a moment because these signs are so common. You feel like you should be calmer by now. You judge yourself when something comes back. You try to regulate because you should, not because you're being called to. You keep searching for new practices instead of letting one root. You feel guilty when you're not actively working on yourself. You try to think your way into emotional ease. You compare where you are to where you should be. You feel pressure around being healed, intuitive, peaceful, or embodied. If any of these feel familiar, you are not doing anything wrong and you're definitely not alone. These signs don't mean you're failing. They mean you've been conditioned to manage, to perform, to strive, to improve, to perfect. But healing doesn't ask you to be perfect. It only asks you to be present. Okay, then. So, what does soft, non hustle healing looks like? Soft healing is not passive. It's deeply alive, deeply intuitive, and deeply feminine. It looks like this: listening to your body before choosing a practice, slowing down instead of pushing through, resting when your mind wants to keep working, letting emotions move instead of analyzing them, being curious instead of judgmental, choosing what feels supportive, not impressive, letting healing be seasonal instead of linear. Soft healing does not force transformation. Soft healing creates conditions where transformation can naturally happen. There is no rush, no deadline, no shoulds, only rhythm, only listening, only safety. Here is something very important: why support changes everything. Most women try to do their healing alone, not because they want to, but because they've learned to carry everything on their own. And when healing feels like another thing to carry, another thing to manage, another thing to figure out, it will always feel heavier than it needs to be. Support creates safety, and safety creates healing. This is why sound helps. This is why reflection helps. This is why presence helps. Not because someone is fixing you, but because your body finally feels like it can exhale. Support is a form of regulation. Being witnessed is a form of grounding. Being accompanied changes the entire nervous system landscape. Healing was never meant to be a solo journey. We weren't designed to self regulate in isolation. We co regulate biologically, emotionally, and energetically. This is why support changes everything. So, today, instead of asking, what is my next step in healing? Ask yourself, what does my nervous system actually need today? Not what looks productive, not what sounds impressive, not what someone else says is the right practice. What does your body say? Does it need slowness, warmth, movement, sound, stillness, fresh air, a softer expectation, or simply permission to be exactly as you are. Your body would always tell you the truth before your mind catches up. And if it feels like your body is craving a simple way to soften and reconnect with yourself with a little bit of extra support, you might consider looking at the 7-day sound based nervous system reset called Calm the Waters that I created. It's a gentle, restorative nervous system journey with sound, reflection, and a small daily practice you can weave into your life without overwhelm. You will find the link at the beginning of the show notes. In closing, please remember healing does not ask you to work harder. It simply asks you to come home to the beautiful soul you are. Until next time, be kind to yourself and trust what has always been within you. Thank you for spending time with us inside the Heartful Healing Hub. If this story moved you, please consider sharing this episode or leaving a comment. Your words help others find this sacred space. If you or someone you love has a healing journey to share, we'd love to hear from you. And finally, if you would enjoy a gentle way to unwind after listening, visit the show notes to download your free tea ritual guide, Sip and Soften, a soul-soothing gift to nourish your inner healer. Until next time, be kind to yourself and trust what has always been within you. And remember, you are whole, you are healing, you are home.